Hi, this is Chris Miglino with Sequire Spotlight. I'm here with Rob Chang with Gryphon Digital Mining. Rob, lots of changes coming in your business, right?
Indeed.
Bitcoin is on a tear. It's doing amazing. It's lifting all of the other cryptocurrencies up at the same time. But you got the halving coming up. What's in store for Bitcoin miners, and where do you see your business going with the changes that are about to take effect in the cryptocurrency markets?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. It's a good one because people are asking what are miners doing for the halving, and the question is everyone should be ready by now. We all knew this was coming. So we know this happens every 4 years, and so anyone who has been caught flat-footed, you really have to question how that's possible, given that it's something that we all knew. So the answer is that for the industry in general, many of us are already ready because we knew it was coming, and many of us are rationalizing operations, making sure they're more cost efficient, and getting the more efficient Bitcoin miners. For Gryphon in particular, it's business as usual for us because for us, our ethos has always been being among the lowest cost and among the most efficient operators in the business. And based on the metric Bitcoin efficiency, which is number of Bitcoin generated per exahash, which I think is the best metric for analyzing, Gryphon's been number one in 2/3 of our existence relative to every company that publicly discloses this information. So it's really more business as usual for us because as the halving occurs, it's really the high cost operators that will have to drop off. And given that we're on the bottom end of the lowest costs, then we're going to be one of the last ones. So
less operators there means more opportunity for you, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's not a terrible thing.
No. If anything, it's a reckoning.
Right.
For those that have not been running that well, that those will be the ones that will.
Right. That they are now out of the business. They are.
Or they have to adapt very quickly. But yes.
Right. Okay. Now, a lot of miners, like some of your competitors, are, moving into the compute side of the world.
Yes.
Right. What are you guys doing on that side? What's going on with compute?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. We are open-minded about it, I would say. We haven't done anything in the area yet. And one of the things that we pride ourselves here at Gryphon is we're open-minded for any opportunity that will help our investors make money. And so we will analyze the opportunity that many of our peers have already embraced. And if it makes sense for Gryphon, we'll dive into it. But it's also a philosophical question that we're certainly currently still wrangling with, and we don't really know what the answer is. And the reason I'm saying is this. I'm a former commodity guy, and when you look at gold and silver companies, for example, the ones that have more than one material tend not to trade as well when they have multiple different revenue streams, as opposed to a gold pure play. And I think there might be an argument saying that if someone wants to buy a Bitcoin miner, do they really want it to have the other revenue streams and other operating metrics of another business stream whatsoever?
That's true.
And there's that argument. Now, don't get me wrong. AI, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it might be one of the best ones to move into. But there is an argument that if you want an AI company, you buy an AI company. If you want a Bitcoin miner, you buy a Bitcoin miner. You might not necessarily want both together.
So what do you say to the people that say, if you want exposure to Bitcoin, buy a Bitcoin ETF instead of buying a Bitcoin miner?
Yeah, that's a very classic argument, and it's the same as any commodity. You can either buy the commodity itself or buy the miners. The difference for them is if you buy Bitcoin now, you're buying it at, say, $70,000, because that's approximately where it's trading at now. I'm currently generating my Bitcoin at $18,200.
Good for you.
So it's much cheaper for me to buy mine. Plus, you're getting the management execution of us being able to reinvest the profits we get and to buy more revenue generating or Bitcoin generating machines. And so really the question really is who can pick up Bitcoin at a cheaper rate, and do you want to buy the access to management who has been able to execute and grow their business? Because Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's not going to be able to grow any more than it is.
Right.
There's no other levers for it, whereas a Bitcoin miner can grow not only on the price of Bitcoin moving up, but also on the fact that we can expand our operations through reinvestment and grow quicker. So historically, Bitcoin miners have actually outperformed the price of Bitcoin.
So you make it for 18,000, and do you sell it right away?
No, we don't really believe in hodling, and we don't necessarily do the other way where we sell all of it. What we do is we hold on to the excess Bitcoin that is above our costs to operate, because our cost to operate is in US dollars. And so I believe it's silly to raise capital to pay for those operations. That's what Bitcoin's for. So we'll sell enough to fund our operations, and then the rest we hold. But we don't hold for hodling's sake, which is what some of my peers do. We look at it as part of our working capital.
So how much Bitcoin do you guys have right now?
Yeah, roughly around 60 Bitcoin is what we have through our last reporting. And so that's roughly times 70,000. You're looking at about 4 million-ish of Bitcoin. And it for us, it is part of working capital. And so if there are opportunities, like for example, recently I bought more machines. We sold Bitcoin to buy those machines. And we see that as part of working capital to use going forward.
And how much larger can you get? Where do you want to be at the end of this year?
Okay.
And how much more do you want to add?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. We have big aspirations. We've publicly stated that we're looking to grow to 10 exahash, which is a very big increase given that we're currently 0.9. It's more than 10x. And it's aspirational, but it is a function of what our goals are as a management team. If we were looking at smaller growth, we would say 2-3 exahash or something like that, where it would be a double or triple. But for us, we want to get things really quickly. And so we're actively looking at M&A opportunities that could grow us by buying up a bunch of private miners at the same time. And of course, at the right time, looking to purchase machines using our capital to do so. So we were looking to do about 10 exahash if we can.
How fast do you have to replace the machines?
Yeah.
Like how fast are they going out of, are they not really that valuable anymore?
Yeah, the useful life is generally about 3 to 4 years. And so you're usually seeing cycles replace at around that rate. Although there is an argument that the next generation of miners are no longer as multiples of efficiencies better than what the previous ones were. So I think there is an argument to be said where the older machines will last a little bit longer because the newer machines are not that much better than they were before, relatively speaking. So we'll see.
You think these new chips that they're coming out with now will dwarf what we saw as a growth, in the last 5 years?
Oh yes, that's inevitability. Every cycle of new chips will always be better. It's just how much proportionally better will they be? Because It used to be 3 to 4 times better. Now for the machines that we're getting, we're seeing 30 to 50% better. So it is no longer being outpaced as aggressively as it was before.
Do you think the manufacturers that really have the tech of the new chips are putting them in the market, or you think they're holding them back, mining Bitcoin?
Good, very good point. They won't say that they do, but we suspect that they are testing, quote unquote, these machines for a lot longer than probably is necessary, and that they're generating Bitcoin and putting it in their own pockets at their own benefit. I do have this funny story. When I first started getting miners in 2018, some of the miners that we received in packaging had dust on it, which doesn't really make sense if you built the machine and put it in a package, unless they were sitting on a shelf for a while and then you packaged it. So, yeah.
And what do you think about, these governments that are getting into Bitcoin mining and their cost of power is zero?
Yeah.
And how do you compete with that? This is a global race. It's not just in the developed countries where you have to pay for electricity.
It is. It's a sign of global adoption, which is great.
Yeah.
Like if you have countries outright buying it or producing it for low cost, it's great for overall adoption. But in terms of competition, someone getting free power is going to always be light years ahead of the West. But what are they doing with that coin? I would argue that a sovereign nation who is accumulating Bitcoin is probably doing so to hold on to it, as opposed to actively sell it and be competitive to us. So I think, if anything, those sovereign nations who are generating Bitcoin are probably locking them away for a long-term period. And so that's just going to reduce the oversupply of Bitcoin, which is going to be great because I'll just provide more pressure for prices to lift because there'll be less supply going out there because it's going into strong hands, so to speak.
I always love hearing a story about how you started off in this business. How did you get into Bitcoin mining?
It's interesting. When in 2017, I was in the investment banking research world. I was managing director, head of metals and mining for Cantor. And one of my more recognizable investors out of London had a 1% allocation in Bitcoin. And I respected him immensely. I thought, well, that's crazy. So he must know something that I don't. This caused me to go down the rabbit hole to look at Bitcoin. And I realized, wow, this is a world-changing technology that's going to change the world. And then it reminded me of something else that happened, which is when the internet happened, teenage Rob saw the internet happen, and he promised himself the next time a world-changing technology shows up, drop everything and do it. And so I thought, well, this is the point where I made that promise, so let's do that. And so in 2018, it just so happened that one of my other investors I talked to was behind what now is Riot Platforms, the first publicly traded NASDAQ-listed Bitcoin miner. They were looking for a CFO. He said, why don't you fly down and take a look? I flew down, got the job on the spot, and away I went.
There you go.
Parachute on the top of the hill.
So you're OG in the world of Bitcoin mining.
For NASDAQ, as the public listed companies, yes. Yeah, but Bitcoin's much more before then, but in the public world, yes, I was. Yeah.
I love hearing the stories. Well, I think you're in a good spot. It's, is there any aspirations inside the ecosystem to ever mine anything else? Do you guys use the infrastructure to do anything else?
Well, again, we're always priding ourselves on being open-minded, but right now, Bitcoin is what makes the most sense to us. It's also politically safest, to be fair. The SEC has been okay with Bitcoin, whether they drag there or whatever, but they're there now. Adding something else in, I'd rather not be the first one to do it, given that there might be all sorts of other issues involved. So I'd rather stay away from having any SEC issues for now.
That I agree with that.
No.
So, well, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And I think that, this next year is going to be an interesting year for Bitcoin miners. I think you're going to see a shakeout in the business.
Absolutely.
I think you get rid of a lot of the small guys that are out there, and I think it's going to be good for the the bigger players, the bigger public market, capital market, where you can go to the capital market, gets more money, and buy more equipment, buy the latest equipment. I think I think you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think efficiency matters, and the ones that are most efficient will do the best.
Well, Rob, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here at the show. Gryphon Digital, check it out.